أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين اللهم يسر ولا تعسر رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue with our lesson from the previous. We spoke about selecting, so we are in Faslun fi ikhtiyar al-ilmi wal-ustadh wal-sharik wal-thibat alayh. So this is a chapter of selecting the knowledge that you want to learn, wal-ustadh, selecting a teacher, wal-sharik, selecting a companion in studying, wa-thibat, and also steadfastness. So when you start, you don't want to stop. So these four are what we're talking about here. Remember, we spoke about this and we said regarding the knowledge, the first and most important knowledge that one needs to seek is ilm al-tawheed. You need to understand who your creator is so that you will know how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't want to do like the way the Nasara, they worship Allah but in the wrong way. You want to worship Allah the way Allah wants to be worshipped. So it is very important when you're doing things to do it at the right way. I mean, there's a saying that goes, إِذَا أَسْنَدَ الْأَمْرِ إِلَى غَيْرِ أَصْلِهِ فَانْظُرُ السَّاعَةِ. The Prophet ﷺ said, when people or when things are being done or when people are being lean on what is not its origin, then you should start looking for the end of the world. So as part of the alamat as-sa'a, people will do things but not in the way it's supposed to be done. And for that matter, when it comes to seeking knowledge, you want to make sure that you select the best of knowledge that is beneficial for the ummah. And for you to start, you need to start with the knowledge of tawheed and then jurisprudence, which is things that you need in your daily life. The Prophet ﷺ said regarding this also, min alamat as-sa'a أو من أشراط الساعة أن يرفع العلم ويثبت الجهل. As part of the signs of Qiyamah, knowledge will be taken, and what will be left with will be what? Ignorance. So, for instance, if you don't follow the right channel, you will not get the right knowledge. So, it is very important. We spoke in our previous lessons that there are things that are not compulsory in our life, but we call them what we call something that is fard, but the fard is fard al-kifaya. We spoke about fard al-kifaya and fard al-ain. Fard al-kifaya is the fard that it's okay if one or two or three people in the community knows it. The rest of the community are free. But if all the people in the community don't know, they've all committed a sin. And we give example like what? Salat al-janaza, funeral prayer, is fard al-kifaya. If someone dies in the community, some Muslims come together, prayed for the dead body, and then buried the person. Those that were not there, they don't need to also come and make jama'ah and pray. Wherever they are, they can pray for the person. But unlike Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, Fajr, when you come to the prayer, the Imam finish, you cannot say they've already finished, so you are going home. You will still pray. So that is the difference between Fardul Ain and Fardul Kifaya. Now, we live in a society, if everyone says, I want my child to be a doctor, engineer, to be what everyone selected worldly knowledge, but no one cares to let their children learn Quran or memorize Quran or learn the deen and know about the deen. We all want a dunya. Yeah, we will all achieve that. If it comes one day in the society that we lived in, no one person can serve the deen or what help the deen, then we that lived in this society, we've committed a sin. So that is very important to acknowledge that. We don't all have to be scholars, but at least some people should sacrifice and make sure that they send some of their kids to excel, that they can be of benefit in the ummah. So this is very important to acknowledge that. And also last week it made mention in our lesson, it is very important to stick وَيَخْتَارُ الْعَتِيقِ دُونَ الْمُحْدَثَاتِ. A student of knowledge should always look for the old. Don't use the young. Don't use the new. So even when it comes to Islamic books, it is encouraged to use old printed versions rather than the modern ones. If you can get old books, go back to that. And amazingly, as we sit down here, this book we are using is over 800 years old. The information in it is more or less talking directly to us as if it was printed yesterday because of our society. The book is over 800 years old because you can see information that they're being picked on. Sometimes they will quote Imam Abu Hanifa al-Nu'man. You will see some people that you talk about. How many years back? The book was really old. So they encourage us that we should study in old books. Wallah, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. These books, as you see here, with this basic understanding that we got, there are scholars out there today, wallah, you give them this book to read and translate, they cannot. Because they go with the modern books that they were not familiar even with the context. So it's amazing when they said, always when you're learning, go with Atiq, old books. Try to avoid new books unless if there are no books on those topics, then you can utilize the new ones. So those are where we stopped last time. Inshallah, we'll continue. It said, قالوا عليكم بالعتيق وإياكم والمحدثات. عليكم بالعتيق. We are encouraged to hold on to the old ones and also stay away from the modern or newer versions of books. وإياك أن تشتغل بهذا الجدل الذي ظهر بعد الانقراض. We spoke about this. This time around things have come and they have caused a lot of things that waste our time in terms of argument or debate of things that are of no use. People are debating because of opinions of scholars. It is very important, you know. Wallah, you see Muslims really fighting each other, condemning each other. You are going to Jahannam. You are not a Muslim. You sit down and observe, really? Is this something that the Quran really categorically stated that they were arguing about? No. This scholar that I trust, he translated this way. So for you to do the opposite of it, you are not a Muslim. Oh, my scholar, the way he translated it, if you do the opposite of it. So we fight over people's opinion, not necessarily what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. Because the truth is always one. There's no way people will be fighting over one truth. It's not possible. Even if we have misunderstanding, as long as we are all following the truth, we will not fight. That is why you can see someone is Hanafi. He will pray behind someone who is Shafi. He's okay with that. Someone is Maliki. He will pray behind somebody that is Hanbali. He's fine with that. Because everyone knows everyone is trying to do the right thing. There's no argument with that. But when you see people arguing to the extent they're putting each other to Jahannam, wallah, sit down and observe. It has nothing to do with Allah says or the Prophet said. It's personal opinion. Argument of people's opinion. This scholar, this is how he describe it. This scholar, this is how he described it. And for that matter, anyone that does opposite of that is going to Jahannam. We should try to refrain from that. You know, so you should be very careful if you want to be a student of knowledge. Do not get caught into unnecessary argument, because what happens is it only causes issue and push you away from the reality. Naam. والأكابر من العلماء فإنه يبعد الطالب عن الفقه. If you continue arguing, debating with the scholars or the scholars of the past, this thing will push you away from knowing the knowledge of jurisprudence. وَيُضِيعُ الْعُمُرِ, and also it will waste your time and your age for nothing. وَيُورِثُ الْوَحْشَ, and the only thing that it will bring is what? You start to feel like most often you will see, wallah, they have some funny words they used to say, small knowledge is a fitna. A person who's tried to know or start to read, start to translate, or start to maybe construct and make sense, the person, if that person is not careful, the arrogance in that person is worse than even the jahil. Because the small that they know, straight away, they start condemning. You know, they put people to Jahannam before they realize what they're doing is wrong. You know, they cause fitna. So that's why when you're learning, don't haste, do not rush in making decision or trying to say something. They have always a good saying, you have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Learn to listen more and talk less. If you are not familiar with the topic, do not talk about it. When you hear about it, just say, well, I don't know about it. Don't argue. Wallahi, sometimes it will sound and look in front of you as something that is the worst of things. But later when you have knowledge, you get to understand, subhanallah. Because Islam is not ideologic religion. It goes with knowledge. If it is ideology, you know, when you go to even wiping feet in wudu, you will say we walk with underneath our feet, so that's where we're going to wipe, not on top of it. But because it's not about ideology, it goes with knowledge. Allah knows and the Prophet ﷺ knows why we have to wipe the top, but not the bottom. So this is how we need to look at it. Ilmul Ras will not be the best way. Or logically, this is making sense. Islam is not like that. So we don't want to waste our time with argument and debate. It will create that, and what will also create? It will create hatred, adawa. It will create hatred among us. وَهُوَ مِنْ أَشْرَاطِ السَّاعَةِ. And as I made mention, those are the signs of Qiyamah. Because when we keep our mind focused on unnecessary things with argument, the knowledge, we will not get it. So we wasted our time for nothing. So it is very important. That is min ashrati sa'a wa irtifa' al-ilmi wal-fiqh, as the Prophet ﷺ made mention, as we said in the hadith before. كذا ورد في الحديث, as it came in the hadith. And the hadith I just made mention, one of the hadith, إذا أسند الأمر إلى غير أصله فانتظر الساعة. When things are start to lean, when you need the knowledge of Islam, you don't go to those who have the knowledge, but the people who claim to have it, they are those who are making fatwa. And we spoke about this. This is criminal offense in Islam. That is the most, just imagine, just because someone has done PhD in stones, knowing how stones are, so you call him doctor. Your wife is pregnant, then you take him take care to him because he's a doctor, you know that he's going to cause harm. Or someone is a dentist, he's a doctor, then you have issue, then you know it does not work that way. Islam is the same. There are scholars of Islam, they cannot make fatwa in Islam. Why? Because they are mufassirun. They only know Quran, how to interpret Quran, how the Quran works. That is their field. They don't go beyond that. We have those that are hufaz al-Quran. They memorize Quran. They cannot go beyond that apart from leading prayer. So we need to know the differences. You know, when you say this one is faqih, someone who is good in jurisprudence, he can give you the ruling when it comes to Islam. We got this one is muhaddith. He can tell you this hadith is authentic. No, this one there is a problem. Everyone has his field. So when someone just memorize Quran, automatically start giving fatwa, causing fitna. And this is the problem. Or people are going online, reading other people's fatwa, and then straight away come and give fatwa. Yes, some fatwa can be made in Algeria, in Morocco, in Saudi Arabia, in whatever, because of the environment is what Muslim environment. And you take that fatwa and bring it here. What are you going to create? Fitna, because that society is different from this. Islam is a religion that takes consideration of environment before rulings are taken. You know, we live in this society, we even have concern. The chicken that we eat, it has to be hand slaughtered. And you can get students from Saudi Arabia who will buy their meat from Coles and Woolworths because their scholar has made fatwa for them before coming. That it's not Muslim country, you can eat meat anywhere. So we are here, not even all Muslims we would buy from. We are concerned who slaughtered. And here is someone you're expecting coming from Muslim world. They said they were giving fatwa. So you can imagine those sort of idea. And the same thing, something they can go extreme. Whereas here, looking at the situation, there's no way you will survive without that. Islam takes that all into consideration. So do not lean on those that are not familiar with the religion to be making decisions on how you do things. If you do that, that is one of the signs of Qiyamah, as we made mention. And also as part of the signs of Qiyamah, we said knowledge will be lifted and jahal, ignorance, will be what will stay with us. May Allah protect us from that. Now, وَأَمَّا إِخْتِيَارِ الْأُسْتَاذِ. So now we are able to establish how to select our knowledge. We need to make sure the knowledge is what? First of all, Tawheed, then jurisprudence, things that we need in our life. And we said that we should stick to the old books, that is, those that have been printed long time instead of the new ones. Now, how do we select a teacher? Very important, very, very important, because this part has made people wasted their life. They read books, translated books, but they sit in front of you or they stand in front of you, you cannot see anything on their face that resembles someone who is knowledgeable. Because when you don't follow the protocol, when you don't follow what needs to be done, You will get the knowledge, but it will not be of benefit. There are scholars out there, wallahi, they cannot gather 2 or 3 people to even teach, because they themselves don't seem to be those who know. Their action does not seem as if they know, and their character, the way they deal with the society, people are not even interested in their environment. We spoke in the previous that al-ilmu zaynun li ahlihi. Knowledge by itself is a decoration for those who has it. So why will a scholar will sit down and people are not interested? Maybe part of these protocols they've missed. One of these is this: اختيار الأستاذ. فينبغي أن يختار الأعلم والأورع والأسن. A person, if you want to seek knowledge, number one, from selection of the teacher has to be a'lam, among the scholars of that field. If you are studying Nahaw, Sarf, Mantiq, Balaga, Tafsir, just check within the scholar that is well versed in that field, you select him. Not all the teachers. Select the one that is more knowledgeable. Not only that, awra, that person who is always open, softness, you can easily approach. You don't want someone who is like a dictator. He is just imposing. You cannot ask why. You want someone that is easygoing, that you can lean on when it comes to that. Number 3, asin. That person should be of old age, not necessarily really old, but the person with more years, in a sense that you will be able to look up to and respect, because of experience come in age as well. People in the early stage, they will say whatever. Whilst they grow, they experience in life and they modify their approach. So you need to look at a scholar who has these qualities. First of all, the field, he should be well versed in that. Number 2, easygoing, that you can approach. Number 3, he has age that you can respect. Anyone that you know, no matter how you sit in front of that person, you cannot respect that person. Don't study under that person. Because you will get the knowledge, but wallahi, it won't benefit you. Knowledge is something that comes with your adab, your ethics, morals. If you don't have the zeal, you don't have that connection of being able to respect that person, wallahi, don't go to the person's lecture. Go and seek for someone that you can respect. Because if you won't get benefit, we'll see the advice of Imam Abu Hanifa on that. كما اختار أبو حنيفة حماد بن سليمان رحمه الله بعد تأمل والتفكر. Abu Hanifa al-Nu'man, one of his teachers was Hammad ibn Sulaiman. When he went to study with him, first of all, he observed. So you go to places, you observe. Sit down and listen. Look at the character. Look at the behavior. See how the person interacts with people. See how the person teaches the knowledge. See how the person deals with incident that comes, so that you will be able to get some sort of quality lifestyle from that person. Because when you are studying in front of someone, you want to lean, you want to give yourself to that person in a sense that you don't want to question whatever he says. So if that person has questionable character, how do you deal with that? So Abu Hanifa al-Nu'man, what he did was he observed, and also he thought a lot about the character of Hammad ibn Sulaiman. وقال, and he said, وجدته شيخا, I found him to be an old man, or I found him to be well qualified in that regard when it comes to the knowledge. وَقُورًا حَلِيمًا صَبُورًا, I saw him highly, his reputation is very, very high, very, very tranquility. You see his affairs and the way he deals with people, peaceful, and also more importantly, he is more patient. He can deal with whatever comes. You won't see him overacting on things. So before I studied with him, he didn't even talk about the knowledge itself. But first of all, he saw him. He is what? He is someone who is more disciplined because of age. He is also in tranquility, very highly in tranquility, and he has patience. وقال, and then Abu Hanifa said, ثبت عند حماد بن سليمان فنميت. Because of that, I was able to stay with him, and I gained when I stayed with him. قال رحمه الله, سمعت حكيما من حكماء سرمقند يقول, I heard one of the scholars of ulama of Samarkand saying, إن واحدا من طلبة العلم that one of the students of knowledge came, أو شاورني في طلب العلم. He came and asked me my opinion and also advice when he is going to study. What did I tell him? Inshallah, we'll look at that on Monday so that we can see the advice given to a student who is going to seek knowledge. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.